Hey all, Mike here from allamerican.org, and today I'm talking about washers and dryers made in the USA. So washers and dryers are obviously a huge purchase for the home and a pretty complex product in terms of the amount of different components that go into it. And if you're a fan of the channel, you know I recently just posted a video on ovens, stoves, and cooktops, which was really my first video on the channel in a really long time, if ever, talking about large home appliances and just the manufacturing process behind them. Now, if you haven't watched that video yet, definitely give it a watch and then come back here. I explain a ton about why it is super difficult to find large home appliances that are 100% made in the USA, which means both their material sourcing and the raw materials and components that are going into the final product are from the US, and they're doing all of their final assembly and every other part of the manufacturing process in the US as well. There's a lot of raw materials and specialized components that are just really difficult to source in the US, primarily because they're made from rare earth minerals that are just not mined in the US. And two, there's just specialized components where you really just don't have a lot of options for domestic suppliers. So things like electrical components, compressors, and others are just really difficult to find in the US. So all of the brands that I'm mentioning in today's video are all going to be assembled in the US using both domestic and internationally sourced components. But the good news is there's still a lot of great companies that fit that definition of assembled in the US using both domestic and internationally sourced components. So I'm going through those in today's video, including some brands that you may not recognize, as well as some more household names. And of course, we have a ton of written research on this topic, so I'll put a link to that main research article in the description below, and a lot of other information about the brands that I'm covering in today's video in the description, so you can do your own research on the models that you're looking at that are American assembled. We have already done a ton of extensive research and actually found a lot of model numbers and names that you can go and check out from these different brands. So I'll have a lot of that information in the description below, so definitely check that out for some models that you might be interested in from the brands that we'll be covering. So without further ado, let's dive right in, starting with Speed Queen. Speed Queen's based in Ripon, Wisconsin, and has really become synonymous with great American manufacturing of large appliances. They've been manufacturing for over 110 years in Wisconsin and employ over 3,000 people. Their appliances were originally made for commercial settings, but they've adapted them for residential use as well, and they are built to last. The latest numbers that I've heard from Speed Queen is that their washers and dryers are built to last 10,400 cycles, which is approximately about 25 years in the average household. Needless to say, these appliances are super heavy duty, and they even offer a 7-year warranty on all of their products as well. The next brand I'll cover is Staber Industries. Staber Industries is based in Groveport, Ohio, and has been making great washers and dryers since 1976. Staber originally got started actually just making transmissions inside washing machines, but has since evolved to making the entire machine and has a bunch of different products for both commercial and residential use. So whether you're looking for a washer dryer for your home or potentially for a hospital, fire department, or other kind of commercial setting, Staber should have some really good options for you. All right, now let's get into some of the more common household names that you may be familiar with. First up is Whirlpool. Whirlpool is obviously a huge conglomerate of a lot of different home appliance brands, but they still do a lot of assembly in the US. When we were speaking with their team, they have a lot of different models of washers and dryers that are assembled here, and I'll put a link to all of those models in the description below. The only ones that are not assembled here, if you click that link and look at their entire inventory on that page on their website, is their more compact models. But I believe they market that as the compact models for the washers and the small space models for the dryers. So I'll put two separate links to those washers and dryers in the description below from Whirlpool, but pretty much all of those options are assembled in the US. We also reached out to Maytag, which is a subsidiary company of Whirlpool, and they do have some models of washers and dryers also assembled in the US. Now they're a little less organized on their websites. We actually have a list of all of the model numbers and IDs for each of those washers and dryers that are assembled in the US from Maytag. So I'm putting that giant list, which is about 40 models, in the description below for y'all to check out. You can go to the Maytag website and just put that ID number, that model number, into their search bar, and you should be able to get to the product page for the washer or dryer that you want to look at. And then another common brand that a lot of folks have questions about when it comes to washers and dryers is GE. They make a variety of different home appliances, and from our research, we could only find one washer and dryer that is actually assembled in the US. So I'll put a link to that one in the description below. Hopefully they eventually have more models that are assembled here, but for now, all we could find is just the one. All right, y'all, those are just a few of the washers and dryers that are assembled in the US. Like I said before, we have full written research on allamerican.org. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. And as always, thanks for supporting your country and shopping American made. See y'all next time.